Yeah, an interesting way to win a football game. Sometimes you got to find ways on when you're on the road in this league to win, and a little bit of a slow start. Youngstown had a good plan, put two really good drives together, and basically played keep away with the football and built that 14-0 lead. Really was pleased with the way our guys showed some resolve, came back. We're in a position to take the lead at halftime. Unfortunately, we turned the ball over, gave up a field goal, but when we went into the locker room at halftime, knowing we were going to get the ball back to start the second half, really felt that our guys understood that the game could be ours, and played that way in the second half. Built the lead, and then decent job of closing the game out there defensively. Played really well in the second half. Offensively, moved the ball pretty well. Had a chance to maybe put some more points on the board, but win's a win, and a place that hasn't been real favorable to us.
All right, with that, we'll open with questions, and we'll start with Jay Elson.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Jay.
First off, just to be able to go out there and overcome, I know you just talked about it a little bit, but, to fall in that hole, how did you avoid, in years past, not letting that hole get to the point where it wasn't something you could overcome, just to finally kind of get this monkey off your back in this particular spot?
Yeah, I think our team showed some maturity, honestly. Give Youngstown credit. They really executed 5 for 5, on their first 5 third downs, kept drives alive when we had chances to get them off the field. And so from that standpoint, our guys had to hang in there and keep believing, and they did. And I thought the second quarter certainly kind of turned the tables a little bit and built the confidence level that we needed to go out and play the kind of second half that we did.
Any concern at all with the last couple of weeks, the way that teams have moved it right down the field on you, on their first drives of the game? Is that just something that's just situational, or game planning on their part, or just going forward? I'm assuming you prefer that you not give up a touchdown on that opening drive.
Yeah, that would be the preference. That's something that defensively. I know, those that staff. You look at that situation. Sometimes you get teams that put something in game plan wise that maybe you didn't execute real well against in the first drive, and once you've seen it, I think our staff does a great job of making corrections. But ideally, what you want to do is get them off the field right away and get the ball back. From a defensive standpoint, certainly was really pleased with the second half and how we went from them converting their first 5 third downs to being 3 of 10 for the rest of the game.
Greater emphasis even going forward now to get that stuff figured out right away and not find yourselves in a hole. Just looking at your schedule, who's coming up? Obviously SDSU this week, but you still have North Dakota State, you still have North Dakota. These are teams that holes like that are going to be much harder to climb out of, and I would imagine that's got to be a point of emphasis as you move forward here.
Yeah, it's going to take a complete football game Saturday for sure. You're not going to be able to have a quarter where you don't play well. You're going to have to play well all 4 quarters, and that's just not defensively. That's offensively, and obviously in the kicking game, and do things to the best of your ability, and so that's got to be part of our plan, and making sure that we've got answers as on all sides of the ball.
As you get into this prep for South Coast State. Obviously, you know the opponent as well as anybody. What did you learn from Saturday night with what they did in Fargo?
You know, that they're really good, really physical football team. You know, that was a really knockdown, drag out type of football game. You know, honestly, probably a little different than what I expected score-wise. Not that I expected, you know, a real high-scoring game, but, you know, probably expected a few more points by both sides. You know, sort of from that standpoint, you understand, you know, defensively how well they played. And so, you know, from a standpoint going in, you know, we have a great deal of respect for the quality of players, the way that they're coached. You know, they're a team that's not going to beat themselves. I mean, you've got to find ways to offensively to move the football with some consistency against a really good defense. Defensively, we're going to have to play really well because they've got you know, a balanced attack with obviously a very experienced quarterback that has the ability to be a dual threat.
They're really holding teams down on the ground now. Obviously, that's been a tremendous strength for you guys this year. Do you think you're going to have to find more unique ways to move the ball on the ground against this front that has been so difficult?
You know, I think games like this, you gotta do the things that you do well. So it's not like you can, you know, put in a bunch of new stuff that you're not going to be able to execute very well. But what you have to do is you got to find those things that you have a chance to be consistent with, and you know, that I think that starts, you know, in the run game. We got to find some way to at least have some level of consistency in the run game, so that we don't end up being a one-dimensional offensive football team. At the same time, I understand we're going to have to be balanced. You know, they're defensively, you know, their priority is take away the run, and they do that really well. So the one thing that we are better at this year than we were a year ago is being better balanced offensively, and that's going to be a key on Saturday night as well.
Last one for me, just a health check. Travis, Nick, you know, I know they were in different stages. Nick getting hurt Saturday and Travis being the week before. What's the outlook there?
Yeah, you know, pretty optimistic. You know, that Travis is going to be able to go. You know, he was, you know, Saturday. You know, just wasn't quite ready to go. And as a running back, you know, if you're not you know, close to 100%, you're not going to be very functional, and we, but going to continue to progress him along this week. It's a little early in the week to tell on, you know, other guys, but hope is that we're going to have everybody back and have a you know, relatively full roster for Saturday night.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jay. Zach Borg, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Excuse me. Hey, Coach. Just briefly touching one more second on that Youngstown game. I know Jay kind of alluded to it, but certainly don't want to get in the hole you did. But we talked about this. I know when you got down at Wisconsin last year, a lot of the time, you know, the last couple of years, you get down like that. Maybe it's been tough for your team to come back and certainly win or get back in the game. Just, I guess, mentally for this team and moving forward is kind of one of those important parts of the journey to, even though you don't want to get in that situation like that, to come back and win a game like that where just nothing was going your way, but they, you know, they kind of proved their resolve against adversity and to rally and win a game like that.
Yeah, I think resolve is a good word. You know, our guys, you know, understand it's never going to be easy in this league. You know, go on the road like that, and get behind. You got to show some mental toughness and battle through that, and our guys did. Sometimes you have a game like that where defensively, we get off to a little bit of a slow start. Offensively, you got to pick that up. Could happen vice versa, that offensively you get off to a slow start and defense has to pick you up, and we've had games like that as well. So I'm proud of our guys, the way that we responded at a critical time, and I think that just shows some of the leadership that we have on our football team right now, and what they're able to convey in terms of confidence to the rest of the team.
Well, as you go into this matchup, talking a little bit defensively against their offense, it's been 2 years since you've been able to get a touchdown on them. Obviously, we all remember the last touchdown, certainly. But obviously they've got different personnel, so it's a different matchup this year. But what are some things that maybe you wish you might – what are some things you wish you'd done differently the last 2 years? What are some things that maybe you feel like maybe you might be able to match up a little bit better? I guess what are some things you might want to do different, you wish you'd done differently the last 2 years, and where do you really feel like you can even things out a little bit more this year with them?
Yeah, I mean, when you play good defensive teams, two things are really important. You got to try to stay on schedule, and we've gotten behind in the sticks too much. So you got to be good on first and second down. And then you got to have a really good third down plan, because you're going to end up in third down situations where you either keep a drive alive or you send the punt team on, and certainly maximizing every scoring opportunity against a good defensive team is important. But it's really about making sure that you do as good a job as you possibly can to stay on schedule and create options for you when you get to to those third down situations, and you're not always in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. Third and 8 and 3rd and 9 situations at the end of the series.
And obviously for your defense going up against them, again, probably more so on their side of the ball offensively. They've got a lot of different personnel, but they're still running the ball extremely well, and they kind of have a lot of different looks, especially when they put in their backup Chase Mason. But they have been struggling a little bit with their downfield passing game. Do you have to almost kind of load up the box a little bit with their run game? How do you attack them defensively this year?
Well, you always start defensively, and you have to be good against the run in this league, and South Dakota State's no exception on that. They want to run the football. They've got a number of ways that they do it, both with talented tailbacks and using their quarterbacks in the run game, both from a designed run component as well as guys that can break the pocket and make yards with their feet in passing situations. So you're never gonna stop the run, but you gotta limit what they get from a run standpoint and try to do exactly what I just talked about we don't want to end up in, and that's create some off-schedule situations on third down, and then do a good job of getting them off the field when you create those kinds of opportunities.
And the last one for me, obviously this program, one of the only things that really hasn't done yet at the D1 level on a regular season, part of this is win in Brookings, which is something I know it hasn't done. I think, going back to the D2 era, obviously we had the long break. It's been a tough place to play. Certainly it's more of a hostile environment for you and a rivalry game, and you've played some good games there. There have been some ones that gotten a little out of reach. How much of a marker is this for your program to win a game up there, to try to get to that? Because like I said, it is one of the only things that you really that's eluded this program at the Division I level.
Yeah, well, it's a tough place to play. There's a lot of tough places to play in our league. The Fargo Dome, Certainly at South Dakota State, we just got a monkey off our back at Youngstown State. As I talk about all the time in this league, you got to play your very best football on the road to win in this league, regardless of where you're going. And South Dakota State certainly is going to require all of that on Saturday night.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, board. Wofford, go ahead.
Morning, Coach. How are you?
Good.
You kind of got your first sneak preview of what a backfield without Travis Tice will look like in the coming seasons. Just what were your impressions of how that backfield did without him?
Yeah, Charles played really well. Charles is a complete back. I mean, he can do everything that we ask those guys to do offensively. He can pass, protect. He can be good in the passing game. Obviously, carry the load when he needs to. Fortunately, we were able to spell him just enough, I think, to make sure that he was fresh the entire time. I think he had 21 carries. L.J. Phillips, you got a chance, and fans have had a chance to see him. Very, very capable running back, and a guy that we were able to use in our two-back system stuff. So we've got depth there, and Charles is going to keep getting better. He's still a young player, but showed his big play capability on Saturday, and getting Travis back, does help us offensively in terms of being even more multiple, and so we're going to work hard to get him back and make sure that he can be a factor on Saturday.
There'll be a lot of emotion on both sides of the ball this week. How do you guys avoid having that emotion affect you in a negative way?
Yeah, I think it's all about focus. You can't get caught up in all of the stuff that goes on around a game. We talk about that, whether it's D-days, whether it's playing on national TV, which our guys had an opportunity to do last year. You got to focus on your assignment and what you have to do on each and every play, and the maturity on our team is helpful in that regard, and the fact that we've got a lot of guys on this group that have been up there, played up there, and know what kind of effort it's going to take to have a chance to win the football game.
Just with the program in this season trending in a very positive direction, what could a win on Saturday against your rival in Brookings do for this program?
Well, it gets us one step closer to the goal that we have for this season. We've got really important part of the conference schedule ahead of us, starting with this week up at South Dakota State. The second half of the conference schedule is always where teams end up putting themselves in position or not to be in the hunt for a championship, and so we understand this week is a big step in that process, as we've got that second half of the conference schedule looming in front of us.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Alex Goff, go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, J.J. Galbraith had another great game against Youngstown State. How has he kind of made his way to be a pivotal point for your guys' offense this season?
Well, we've done a good job of finding ways to get him involved offensively. He's unique from a standpoint of, as a tight end, his ability to stretch the field vertically, and be a real factor in the pass game. And I think Coach Davis and that staff on the offensive side of the football have been able to find ways creatively that have allowed him to use his skill set to the best of our advantage. And we got to continue to do that. Our perimeter guys making big plays has been a big part of our offensive success, and we're going to have to find a few of those Saturday.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that whatever it takes to win, especially pulling out a win like that on Saturday. What's that say for your team going forward, being able to win a close one like that?
Yeah, I talked with our guys. It shows character. Not every game's going to go your way from the very beginning, and sometimes teams, when that happens, panic. Sometimes teams just from a standpoint of response, just systematically respond. And I thought our guys systematically responded. Did what we had to do offensively. Turned up our level of execution defensively, and as a result, found a way to put that game in the win column, and couldn't be happier to have our guys kind of go through that experience and see the way that they dealt with it.
And then SDSU coming off a loss, you guys know you're going to get their best game with them back at home. What did North Dakota State kind of highlight that you guys might be able to attack?
Well, I think they played good defense, and which they always do, from an offensive standpoint, as I talked about earlier, I think the game was, probably tilted a little bit more towards a defensive game than, not that I didn't think it was going to be great defense on both sides of the ball, but I thought there might be a few more points scored. And, I think it just shows that, you're going to have to go up there and play really well in all three phases, field position, all of those things, find a way to win the turnover margin, all those things are going to be important.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Hunter Olson, go ahead.
All right. First off, I just want to say congrats on the win this past weekend, Coach. What did you take away from your team being able to play from behind and playing through adversity, rather than playing a game where you're ahead like we've seen most of the season?
Well, I think it forces you to truly demonstrate some belief and confidence, and you have to bull your neck and step up, and guys did that. It's when you're building a big lead and everything's going well, it's one thing. When you've got to respond to challenge, it's another. And you want a team that's going to be able to do both, and we showed we can do the second Saturday.
To kind of piggyback off that, obviously as like a fan and as an observer of the game, when we're watching it, it's a lot easier to kind of say like, oh, maybe the players should be doing this, maybe coaches should be doing this. But as kind of the leader of the team, how do you in real time keep the team focused and keep them motivated and to play from behind?
Yeah, I think you rely on the leadership in your football team. Certainly from my standpoint, it's about the next series. Defense came off, and the message was, hey, next series we're going to get a stop, and they did. And offensively, the message is about, hey, we've got to put a drive together, and you want your guys and our guys understand that hey, that's our response offensively, is to put a drive together when we need one. So it's really more about your preparation during the week than what you do on Saturday, and that's where I've talked about this, having some really strong leadership in every position group across our football team. There was really never any what I'd call panic. Obviously, some understanding that we got to be better, but our guys knew we had the ability to come back from that deficit and win the football game, and knew exactly what we had to do that.
There's a lot of hype going into this week versus South Dakota State. Obviously, both of you guys and SDSU have top-ranked programs this year. I'm just wondering, how do you and the team plan to handle the added emotions and intensity that come with that? And also, how do you plan to use guys like AJ Coons, who have spent time in Brookings?
I don't think there'll be any difference, from a standpoint of how we use AJ. He's been a great addition to our program and a guy that's just a really neat young man. The anytime you got to prepare for the environment. It's going to be loud. We understand that. You got to be able to deal with communication from that standpoint, just like you do when you go to the Fargo Dome or some of the other locations in our league or Camp Randall Stadium. Our guys understand the national television thing. We had the experience of that at Wisconsin this year, and a lot of our guys, carry that over from last year. That there's a little bit more media stuff that you deal with, but it's all about, again, just establishing the focus of what's important, and it's those 60 minutes between kickoff and end whistle, and making sure that we're in the best possible position and ready to execute at the highest level every snap.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
And Ian Sachs, you're up.
Hey, Coach, kind of to touch a little bit more on that, how do you look forward to the opportunity in front of you of nationally televised game, a night game in the Missouri Valley, which is something that's rare for a conference game?
Well, we just played one. Just played a night game in the Valley. So we'll at least have the experience of back-to-back night games. I think it's great for our league. Our league is without question, playing from top to bottom, the toughest competition, the best level of FCS football in the country, and it's great exposure for our league. It's certainly great exposure for our program. But I think as fans saw the quality of that game last week, and they understand the quality of football that's being played in the Valley.
What would a win mean in the rivalry game on Saturday?
It would be a big win. I talk about every win in this league as a big win, but certainly, the South Dakota State, South Dakota rivalry is a special one for not just our players, but for our fans and for our alumni, and so it's a great challenge for sure. But great challenge always brings with it great opportunity, and that's what our guys understand and realize headed up there.